So today I decided to make a kind of recap and walk through my entire hand tools I'm using in my workshop. Hello everyone and welcome to my Lettercraft YouTube channel. If you are new here, I would be glad for your subscription. Also check my all other videos, probably you will find some good information about lettercrafting. Very often I'm getting asked about a specific tool I'm using in my videos. So today I decided to make a kind of recap and walk through my entire hand tools I'm using in my workshop. In general, tools matter for sure, but more important are your skills. With not the best tools and with good skills, you can make nice craft. But even with the best available tools, you will never make good crafts without skills. So focus on your skills, not on fancy tools. Most of my tools are Chinese made since I started leather crafting as a hobby and did not want to spend big money on tools. You probably can guess the quality of Chinese made items, but in general the main point was the price. And when talking about Chinese made tools, do not consider quality. It's just about is it a usable tool at all. But over time I found tools that works for me and I'm still using it today. I will share my insights on them and also show some tools which I regret spending money on. This type of video is also a great source of information for me, as I experienced in a video where I talked about letters I'm using. So if you know where to find good quality alternatives for my tools, please share in the comments section. It would be useful for me and other viewers. Also, I will leave links in the video description where to find tools I'm showing in this video. I am not sponsored by anyone, it's just my experience and insights. Okay, let's start from heaviest ones. Hammer for flattening iron pocket stitch and mallet with hard rubber head, which I'm using for hitting pricking irons. These are from regular Home Depot, so probably you will find in your home country for equivalent of several euros. You probably saw these more expensive special lettercraft mallets like mace, but I can't imagine why they are better than this standard rubber head mallet for a few euros. If I don't know something, please correct me. Also in the same Home Depot you can find steel ruler. 30 centimeters works for me quite well. Next, some type of knives. Most for cutting leather I'm using a simple box cutter knife. I have also a rotary knife, but I don't like to use it as it cuts edge by random angle. For me a regular box cutter works much better. And also I have Chinese Wuta company skiving knife, which I'm using only for purpose you can see in my previous video. It's pretty good budget knife, hard steel, so it's quite easy to sharpen it, and for sure it works well for skiving. Regarding skiving leather, before I bought leather skiving machine, I tried two kinds of special skiving knife with replaceable blades. This one can be used for skiving, but this one is very inconvenient to use and I do not recommend it. But in general I recommend to look for this type of skiving knife for skiving purpose. Okay, next tool, flat tongs, which I'm using to press glued leather pieces. As you can see, I upgraded them slightly. I glued two leather pieces to avoid marks on craft. Cheap made tool, but works as it should. These are regular blinder clips you can find in any office supply store. With some upgrades, it's very useful to press and hold glued leather parts. how to make updates, check this quick video I made before. This is an electric rotary tool, Dremel brand, which is not very cheap. I believe 4 years ago I bought it for around 100 euros, but I absolutely don't regret buying it as it works fine and I'm using it a lot. My actual tool is Dremel 200 series. Mostly I'm using it for rough edge sanding after gluing to peel off protruding dried glue and make edges flat with 220 grit sanding drums. Also, I'm using this tool with slicker attachments to melt beeswax on final stage of edge finishing. This tool might be used with a vast variety of attachments for many purposes outside leather crafting. Really good quality tool. I bought it in a local Home Depot, so just check there or check online for a Dremel rotary tool, or probably you can find some cheaper alternative, but you know cheaper means lower quality. I have couple dividers which I am using to mark stitching line from the edge. This one has one pro against another, as you are adjusting distance between shanks by rotating screw and can adjust easy and precisely. This one is set to 4 mm and I don't adjust it. In general, no big difference which to use. Also in my crafts I'm using a groover for stitch. I have two modifications of the same tool. This probably was one of my first tools I bought when I started leather crafting. This groover also can be changed to edge beveler by adding attachment, but using it as edge beveler I do not recommend. And a very similar one which I'm using, it has only a groover attachment, and as there is only one sliding part, so it's easier to adjust. So if you are going to buy a groover, better choose this type. At all it works, but I would like to have better quality of this tool. Edge beveler. First one was this one I showed you before. It's absolutely garbage. Next one I had this, which also nothing good. If you are looking for a budget beveler, I would recommend this one. I used it for a while and it works quite good. In general, Chinese Wuta brand has quite good budget tools. Just go with the smallest size. But in general, I suggest to obtain a high quality edge beveler and don't spare money for it. When I got my Palo Santo edge bevelers, it was absolutely the next level tool, and the only thing I regret about them, why I haven't bought it earlier. I'm using size 0, which is very good for one layer edges, and a size 1, which I'm using with multiple layers edges. Next, pricking irons. I use these cheapest ones with a combination of these pliers. Both tools fork are same 1 mm diamond shape. I made a video some time ago about these pliers and how I work with them. You can check here. I mark and punch with pricking irons, but not through, and finishing with pliers so I can adjust the whole place on back side and I can avoid uneven stitch line, which is a very common problem for new leather craft, as I am stitching with quite thick 1 mm thread, so for my style it works quite well. But I believe if I would be using thinner thread or other stitching style, I would be looking for better quality and more expensive pricking irons. Wooden slickers. I'm using these high density black wood slickers. Thinner one has small groove, which is perfect for single layer edge burnishing. These black ones are more smooth and I prefer them more than regular wood. but they are a bit more expensive. If you are on a tight budget, regular wood burnisher also would be good. For my Dremel tool, I also use same black wood slicker set. As I mentioned before, for rough sanding, I'm using 320 grit sanding drums. For smoother edges sanding, I'm using from 1000 to 1500 grit sanding paper, which for sure you can find in any Home Depot store. Sewing snips is a very convenient and cheap tool to have under your hand. For 5 of these I paid a couple euros. For thread melting I'm using just a regular lighter. I also have this melting pen, but I find out it's a very fast discharging battery and you need to change or recharge quite often, and it's very annoying. I see no advantage against a regular lighter. By the way, using a lighter is much easier. And at the end, couple tools, this small thickness measuring gauge, which is a very useful for me, especially when working with shell cordon, as every piece of shell cordon varies in thickness edge to edge. Good working small thing to have in your workshop if you need to measure your leather thickness from time to time. If you are dyeing edges of your crafts, I would recommend to use this kind of dye applier. It's a more convenient to use instead of this. I'm not dyeing my edges for a while at all. Only for black leather craft edges I use this dye pen to enrich black color. Really easy and clean to use. Finally, some punching tools. I have set of these cheap as the hole punchers. I use them rarely. It works, but if you are going to punch holes frequently, I do recommend to look for more expensive ones. And this corner punch tool from AliExpress is absolutely garbage. Don't waste your money. It came even not 90 degrees angle and blunt. I got my money back after the claim. If you need a corner puncher, look for a quality one. While before I started to use cutting dies, I used this corner template to round my corners, which is quite good. You always know your corner radius. Video about cutting dies you can find here. Since I went through all my tools I'm using in my crafting process, hope it will help in your leathercraft journey. Check for more of my leather crafting videos at my channel. And no doubt, this is the last video this year. So first of all, I want to thank all who subscribed and watched my videos in this 2020. An extra big thank to those who have been with me since my start in 2019. Wish you all the best in upcoming year. I am going to keep uploading my videos. If you like what I am doing and would like to support my effort, please consider becoming a channel member for monthly donation or purchasing any of my PDF templates even you don't need them, or order any of my leather crafts on my webshop strhandmade.com. If you have any questions, as always leave them in the comment section. It helps me to find topics for new videos. Also, don't forget to press the like button for YouTube algorithm and subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you once again for staying with me and Happy New Year for everyone. See you next year. Bye!